Did the raid ever bother me? The raids. Did it ever bother me with what we had done? We killed literally hundreds of thousands of people. Men, women, children. No, it didn't. Not at that time. It was no different than flying over Texas and hitting that bullseye. We never saw anybody. There was no feeling whatsoever. The only Japanese I ever saw were prisoners on Guam. So there was no feeling to it whatsoever. It was hit the target and go home. That's all we were interested in.
Was it always night raids or?
No, daylight raids. We had both daylight and night.
So you could never see the effects of you were well beyond them by the time the bombs hit.
Oh, no, no, no. You just saw them hit. Yeah. You saw them hit. Well, we were not the first planes. The first planes had gone over and set all these fires.
Sure.
And our object was to go just at the edge of the fires and start new fires.
Right.
So we didn't bomb a particular target when we were on incendiary raids. We just laid them into the fires.
It's a lot different than how they do it now, huh?
Hmm?
It's a lot different than how they do it now.
Oh, now they don't even go near the target.
Right. Do it from,
The only time it ever bothered me was after the war. I don't know, it was months, even years after the war. Collier magazine ran an article, and this reporter was in Japan. He was a Swede. He was in Japan the night of the raid, and he described it, how the bodies were stacked up in the streets, the bodies were floating in the rivers, all bloated and all. And he described it pretty grimly, or realistically, with the children, bloated bodies and all. It's the only time it ever bothered me. But of course that wore off too. Life goes on. I never talked about the war for a good 50 years, if not more, until one day we were going to a relative's wedding out of town, and my oldest son, Jeff, was driving, and somehow he asked me a question. We were riding with him. He asked me a question, and it started off on the war. It was the first time I ever talked about the war. And he said to me at the time, "You never talked about the war." And I don't know, I was too busy working and earning a living. But now, you know, I was semi-retired at that point, and I have nothing else to think about. And my mind goes back to the days of the war. But from then on, it's been war. I mean, I won't sleep tonight because of this. And every time somebody gets me on the subject, I don't sleep. One night out, about a week ago, I went through this, and I didn't sleep. But the next night, I didn't sleep, but I was building houses. So it shows you.
In a bad economy.
Yeah.
But when I was that age, people objected conscientiously.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
they went to Canada, or they refused.
Oh, the
Did
Vietnam, they refused to do. Well, you know what happened.
Yeah.
They refused to go to war.
But did anybody?
Well,
Look, I'm
it
not
was
talking
different
about-
though, Steve. In our time, the U.S. was threatened, not Vietnam, South Vietnam, or whatever it was. The U.S. was threatened. My family was threatened. Everybody was threatened. If it wasn't for the Marines, you wouldn't be here, because I'd have been killed on Iwo Jima.
But did anybody object to a mission? So they said you're going to bomb these 100,000 people tomorrow.
They never told you there were 100,000 people down there. They
never
said,
told-
you're going to bomb this section. And that's it.
They never told
You're
you
going to
about-
bomb this factory. But I don't know. Yeah, there were people in there. So what? It was war.
Nowadays, there's such an emphasis on that. They don't want to bomb anything except.
Yeah. You're fighting a war, you can't shoot a civilian.
Right.
Hey, man, he'll kill you if he gets a chance.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But, again, that's war.
Treated like a hero when you came back.
No, because no one knew what I did.
You didn't talk about it.
I never talked about it.
Never talked about
Never. The closest I came was a Veterans Day parade in West Haven. Bill Sewell. When was Bill Sewell around?
No?
He dragged me out.
Oh, you never done that.
And I had my, oh, geez, I didn't wear my B-29 hat. And people kept saying thank you. I was sitting there in this car. What the hell are they thanking me for? And then one guy says, thank you for your service. Oh, okay. That's the only time it ever registered on me that I was a hero.
Right.
I never had the ribbons. I never went through all this paperwork. I never read my own obituary, a biography. And that's how things went.
What about, I mean, you got all these grandkids, you got great grandkids, you got all these people now, and you know, God willing, none of us see war. I mean, what do we take from this? You know, what's the message to the?
Thank God for the USA. Thank God for America. I bless it every night. There's no country in the world like it. You can have your Republicans, you can have your crackpots, you can have all over the country. But there's no place like America.
But you're free to do.
You're free to do what you want, as long as you don't break the law. God bless America, believe me. And I mean that from my heart. That's not just rhetoric.
You don't appreciate it until
Right.
you don't have it. Or
Until
you
it's
leave it, but nobody ever leaves.
it's jeopardized.
Right.
Like I said, Vietnam War, they were going to Canada, but they were threatening my home.